Not to alarm anybody, I did bleach my eyebrows. That's kind of a given. My eyebrows will be back eventually. I don't have a timeline for that. I wanted to have fun. I'm not crashing out. I also don't need to explain myself, but I feel the need to. I just wanted to have fun. I'd never done it before. Don't want to live my life with any regrets. And I was looking at the bottle of bleach in Target and I said, I'm taking you home with me. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This week's video is going to be a mood reading video. Just gonna bring you guys along this week while I read a bunch of different types of books. The books that are on my radar this week are on a little bit of opposite sides of the spectrum, so it's gonna be a lot of fun. The first book that I'm starting with is called Kiss of Fate, and this is the second book in the True Immortality interconnected series. I just read and just finished this morning War of Hearts, which is the first book in this interconnected series. That one follows a werewolf and a fae. The girl is fae, the MMC is a werewolf, an alpha werewolf, a 6/6 werewolf, a Scottish werewolf. Oh my god. It just got better and better with that book. I got recommended that book by Alyssa in my book club. She actually recommended it to me last year and I downloaded it and then I never ended up getting to it. She recommended it to me again at the beginning of February and I was like, I'll read it. I need to read it. It was so motherfucking good. I gave it 4.5 stars. So good. That was my first book by S. Young. I think her first name is Samantha Young, but it was S. Young on the front of that book. So good, I need to buy it for my bookshelf. I have an empty bookshelf in the hallway, so I might end up buying it so I can have a physical copy. The second book follows, I can't pronounce this name properly. My phone's not with me, so I will look up the pronunciation later, but when I read Scythe and Sparrow, someone told me or commented that I was pronouncing, I'm gonna say Fionn right now. I know I'm probably mispronouncing it. Again, don't have my phone on me. I will correct myself later. This is the MMC's name in this book. I'm confused as to what he is. I can't tell yet if he's fae or if he's a vampire, but we'll find out. The FMC of this book, Rose, I think she's fae. So far, we found out that she has these powers that have been blocked from her mind and from her body, but they're deep down within her. It's funny because the parallel of this paranormal universe is kind of similar to how True Bloods was. Most of you guys have been around since I was hyperfixating on that show last year. That show was fun for a few seasons, then it just got bad, but the paranormal aspects of that book, like the way the fae, the werewolves, and the vampires interacted, it's kind of similar to this. And I like that. Something that is going on throughout this entire interconnected series is there are different people trying to open the gate to the fairy world again because the fairy queen closed off the fairy world from other supernatural beings and technically humans too, but she basically just closed off the world because she didn't want other supernatural beings to be there. I mean, valid. And people want back into the world, so they're hunting these fae that are on the human realm that are supposed to be the key to opening the gate again. How? Don't know. Or at least I don't remember from the first book, which is embarrassing. I feel like they didn't explain it, but I know the fae are necessary and are the key. Who's gonna open it and why? Don't know. I know the witches and this witch coven wants to open it and they're hunting different fae to open it because they want to like access the power that's there. Any other supernatural beings? I don't know why they would want to open it. Maybe they got a lover trapped over there or something. Another book that is on my radar for this week that I think I'm planning to get to, but again, this is a mood reading video, so my mood may change. At the moment, I think my next read is going to be An Ember in the Ashes. I bought this book about a month ago simply because the cover is so beautiful. I'm obsessed with this cover. I'm also obsessed with how all 4 books in the series look next to each other because of that. Just really pretty. What I'm getting from this book, from reading the back of it is the oppressed standing up to their oppressors type fantasy. I don't know if this is technically YA, new adult, I'll put it on the screen. And ever since I bought it, it's like my phone has been listening to me. I've been getting a lot of TikToks of people just raving about the series as a whole. And my friend Emily back in Texas, she did end up starting the series and she's 2 books in and she said it is addicting. Addicting. Hopefully I won't change my mind and I'll get to this next. Ooh, I like the way the words look in this. They're spread out very nicely. Not crammed up in there or anything. Ooh, yeah. Big fan. Rose Kelly was his to kill at the right moment. No other fucker would dare touch her until then. And they say romance is dead. But then they say romance is dead. Oh my gosh. He killed her attacker and burnt him to ash. That is so romantic. You guys probably guessed this from his name, but he's Irish. His name is kind of a given that he's Irish. But he said, once I have her trust, it should be easy enough to lure her to Ireland. I already mentioned that the MMC in the first book was Scottish. The Scottish and then the jump to the Irish. Like, S. Young, Samantha Young, whatever your name is, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing to your readers. And it's working. It's working on me. He's really tall. At first she thought he was 6.5 feet because she had seen him across the bar at the beginning of the book. And I was like, oh, 6.5 feet? Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? The first book ends with 6'6". That's a jump. That's a jump to go from reading about a 6'6" man to a 6.5 feet man. 6.5 feet is still fucking tall. She's up close to him and she said he was definitely taller than 6.5 feet. Good. Good. Wait, he's not a vampire. Am I stupid? The way he was talking at the beginning of the 4th chapter, I thought he was a vampire. She said, are you a vampire? He said, no. Maybe he's fae. That don't make no sense. What is this man? Before we continue with this vlog, I do want to quickly thank the sponsor, which is iFlyTech. I recently got the iFlyTech AI Note Air 2, and I really like it. There are a lot of really cool functions on it, and while it is primarily to be used as an office tool, I've been using it as an e-reader. Reading-wise, I was only expecting a Kindle app to be available so I could read my books that way. When I tell you my jaw actually dropped, and I got so excited because there's also a Kobo Books app available on here, the Libby app to access library books, and the Kindle app. You can also make to-do lists on here, write, take notes. If you're using this in the workplace or in a school, there's a record option and it transcribes the recording for you. So if you're in a meeting or a lecture, you can take notes on what is said afterwards. Additionally, you can use it to create to-do lists and handwritten notes. And you can even record audio that will automatically convert to text. For example, during meetings or classes, you can record the content while also handwriting to-dos, making it easier to review later. I am not in school, nor do I go to business meetings. So I'm gonna have Georgia tell me her thoughts on Mile High, a book I finally got her to read. I finally got her to start the Windy City series. So you can see the transcribing in action and you can see how I can take notes on the transcription of the recording.
I cannot believe it took me so long to read Mile High. I am so obsessed. I read it all night and I did not sleep. And now I'm reading Right Move and I cannot put it down.
If you want to purchase the iFlyTech AI Note Air 2, you can click the link that will be in my bio, or I'll also have a link in the description bar for you guys down below. Let me know what you think, and let's get back into the vlog. Good morning. I have my book and my coffee. I got 30% into this book last night. I'm gonna go read for a couple hours at George's apartment next door. Okay, now let's go. No, I finished that one. That's how you finish that one? I gave it 4.5 stars. I need you to read it. Typically, I feel like werewolf romances, you have to overlook a lot of flaws in the book. Like writing wise, because it's very like Wattpad-y and like AO3 like fan fiction. This one was actually, or that one was actually written really well. And there's like a storyline that continues in this interconnected series. So I'm reading the second one, but there's no werewolves. They're fae. Fairies. Looking a little bit like E.T. So far this book is very, very slow burn. I'm 47% through it, and I need it to remain very slow burn. I'm not feeling as big of a connection with these characters, or at least I feel like their connection is not as big as the two main characters in the first book, and I'm trying not to compare it to the first book because I really, like I said, loved War of Hearts. And it's not that this one is bad so far. It's not bad. The writing is still very entertaining and very fun. I feel like they're finally starting to like flirt a little bit at the 47% mark. But if they get together at any point in the next 15%, I don't know how I'm going to feel about that because I just don't feel their connection yet. I need time for them to click a little bit more. From the start of this book, we know what the third act conflict and the third act breakup, if there is going to be one, we know what it's going to be because Fionn is using her from the start. She just doesn't know. I feel like when you can predict the third act conflict from the start, that should make you really anxious. It's not making me too anxious. It's probably because they're not even romantically involved yet. I'll see it coming from a mile away. That's kind of the point, but not making me anxious.
They still have not gotten together. They still have not gotten together 75% through. And I'm so grateful for the buildup that Samantha Young, or whatever her name is, did for these characters, because it's so good. And they're a little bit of like enemies to lovers. They both just keep betraying one another, and it's it's so good. It's literally so fucking good. Bonnet is on, eye mask is on. I'm literally corpsed up, ready for bed. I had to turn my light on and tell you. Okay, see you in the morning now.
This is the second book I've read by S. Young. I'm new to the S. Young game, but after looking at a little bit of her backlog last night, she has so many books out and I cannot wait to read more of them. This one, I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars. This following up the first book, it wasn't necessarily a letdown. I just resonated so much more with the characters in War of Hearts compared to this one, so it was not as good as War of Hearts in my opinion, but it was still really fun, and I felt like the story flowed so well, and the way that she threw in different parts of the story. I feel like the timing of everything with her writing is just really good. I'm gonna read a physical book next. I'm gonna start this. I was looking up on Pango Books last night, trying to see if the second, third, or fourth book were available on there, because I haven't even gotten into this book series yet, but I just feel like I'm gonna love it. Mostly because everybody I speak to, all of my mutuals who have read it, love this series. And then my friend Emily, like I said, loves this series and she's eating it up. I didn't realize that these are newer covers. Older covers look like this. So a lot of these are available on Pango Books, but I want the newer covers. I do know at the beginning of the book, Laya, the FMC, watches her family get taken, or one of her siblings maybe get taken, and then she has to try and get in connections with the resistance and figure out a way to get her living family member back. And in the process of doing all this to try and get, oh, it's her brother. Her brother was arrested for treason. In the process of her trying to get her brother back, who was arrested for treason, she meets Elias, who is the school's finest soldier, and secretly it's most unwilling. He and Laya will soon realize that their destinies are intertwined and that their choices will change the fate of the Empire itself. He is not one of the rebels. He's not one of the ones in the resistance. He's one of the ones that is involved in the Empire somehow. He doesn't agree with anything the Empire is doing. Laya is a slave. Elias is a soldier. Neither is free.
Good morning, everyone. It is 7 in the morning. I've been outside reading for 30 minutes now. I love the fact that I have a balcony at my new apartment, and I got this camping chair. It's like a camping hammock chair, this thing, from Academy the other day. And I like it because it swings back and forth, and I feel like it makes me, I'm not like sitting still, so my attention span is better when I'm sitting in it. I don't have ADHD or anything. It's been great to read in. I've been loving it a lot. Normally I walk Finn pretty early in the morning, but I stayed up until 11 o'clock last night reading this book, so I'm really tired, and I also really want to keep reading this book, so I took Finn out to pee this morning, and then I said, I'm sorry, we'll go for a walk later. Mommy needs to read. Where's the bookmark? 370 last night. It's just very addicting. It's a very addicting fantasy read. And I wasn't expecting this, but it's dual POV. It's coming from Laya's POV and Elias's POV, which is very interesting because Laya is on the resistance side. She's technically like not a part of the resistance, but she gets tied up in the resistance because she has to join ties with the resistance a little bit. She does become a slave. And so we get to get her POV from a slave standpoint. And then we also get to get Elias's POV, and he's a soldier for the Martial Empire. Like, he's technically a bad guy. A lot of the verbiage throughout this book is really interesting and really raw given the times of the world. It's really interesting to read about some of the people on the Martial Empire side being like, we fought for this land, we took this land from them, we deserve to have it. Very interesting verbiage from the Martial Empire side. I'm gonna sit here for probably until 8:30, an hour and a half, and just keep reading, and we'll see how far I get, starting on page 270.
Go to my new local library and get a library card because I know my library back in Texas, which I have my Libby through, is probably going to expire here soon because I think I got it for a year. Oh my gosh, it's probably going to expire in the next month. And my holds, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my holds. I can walk to the library where I live now. It's about a 1.5 mile walk from where I am. Isn't that really cool? That is incredible. I also don't think this is going to let me into the Libby app. I don't really need to get into the Libby app on here, but I was going to see if I could get the second book. It's called A Torch Against the Night, and it's blue, and it's really pretty. I was just going to see if Libby had it so I could potentially read that next, but there's a wait on my library on my phone, but I was trying to get into it on here so I could just open up the book on here. We'll figure that out later. I finished an Ember in the Ashes earlier today. It was really good. And I talked a bit about it earlier and the aspects of it that I liked earlier. I've heard nothing but good things about this series. So when the first book of a fantasy series is already starting off so well, I just know the rest of the series is going to be iconic, because normally with a fantasy series, you're reading the first book and people are always telling you, like, just get through the first book, just get through the first book, give it time, it'll build, it'll build. I feel like it already built, so that we can only go up from here. I loved how addicting and fast-paced and the adrenaline this first one gave me. And they've already kind of set the scene for what the second book is going to look like a little bit. Actually, we don't know what it's going to look like, but we know from the ending of this first book what the premise of it is going to be. It's going to give me the adrenaline rush that this first one gave me. So I need it. I might honestly go to Barnes & Noble tomorrow so I can read it beginning of next week. In the meantime, I think I'm going to read another werewolf romance. It's Werewolf Romance Spring. Let me pull up Kindle. I think I'm going to start, well, there's 2 books that I could start next. The Heir Apparent's Rejected Mate. Bear with me. Bear with me. Or, oh god, the second one's actually even worse. Feral Sins. Bear with me. Bear with me. The Heir Apparent's Rejected Mate is the book that comes after Tyrant Alpha's Rejected Mate. Read that book last year. Despite the cover, don't let it deter you. It was incredible. I read it in an entire day. I read it for a video. I don't remember which video I read it for, but loved it. It was addicting. And come to find out, I don't technically think it's Omegaverse, but it has some Omegaverse qualities into it. I mentioned on TikTok the other day, like, I thought it was Omegaverse, and people were like, no, it's not, because of X, Y, and Z. And I was like, I don't understand Omegaverse fully. Please don't yell at me. I don't know what characters it follows off the top of my head, and even if I read the summary, I'm not going to remember who they are because it's been a while since I've read the first one. I really liked Kate C. Wells. I believe that's her name. I can't see the author on here. I really liked this author's writing. Was it perfect? No. Was Tyrant Alpha's Rejected Mate worth 4.5 stars? I think that's what I gave it. Probably not. But it was so much fun. And I don't have to explain anything more than that. I'm just here to have fun. I think it'll be easier to pull up the summary on here. I'm going to go on Goodreads. Feral Sins. Hi, Finn. Hello. Someone on TikTok the other day recommended me Feral Sins, which is why I downloaded it. And it comes with the audio version on Kindle Unlimited too, which is another reason I downloaded it. And not that I'm really in the mood for an audiobook, but I could listen to it while we're on our walk in the morning. She's like, bitch, I don't give a f*** actually either way. The heir apparent's rejected mate is another rejected mate trope, which, come to find out, I actually really enjoyed that. I didn't think I would like the angst of that in the first book in this Interconnected series, but I really loved the angst of it. And this other one, Feral Sins, ooh, I'm liking this cover a lot better. This is the cover on Goodreads. This is the cover on my Kindle. Questionable. Lovely. It's kind of fun. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. 60,000 ratings. If your inner wolf and your body react rather enthusiastically to a psychotic alpha male whose own wolf has a tendency to turn feral, it can be a good thing, can it? Entering into a bargain with him wouldn't be good either. Unfortunately, Taryn Warner, a latent wolf shifter, doesn't have many options open to her right now. Okay, she has no options. Basically, it comes down to whether she'll do what it takes to escape the arranged mating with the sick son of a bitch that her father set up. As the answer in this case is yes, it looks as though she'll have to agree to Trey Coleman's deal. Hold on. I'll hold your hand. I'm sorry. That sounds really good. This would be my first book by Suzanne Wright. That's the first book of the Phoenix Pack. Finn, do not hit your sister right now. I can't lie. Feral Sins is speaking to me a little bit more. Okay, starting Feral Sins next. My library just notified me that A Torch Against the Night is ready to borrow. I don't know if this is the audiobook. Oh, it is the audiobook. I applied for both the audio and an e-copy of the book just to see which one I could get first because both of them were a 4-week wait. Ebook right there. So that should come pretty soon. I'm gonna go for a walk with Finn and get started on this as an audiobook. I don't know if I'm not gonna try and read this book quickly. I don't know if I'm gonna finish it by the end of the week, but I did want to let you guys know because this is a mood reading video that I am starting another book alongside the werewolf book that I'm reading. I did end up DNFing Feral Sins last night. I got probably 15 pages into it. For some reason, the word latent was used about 9 times. Why? I don't know. It just was thrown in there like, it felt like every other sentence. It wasn't anything that crazy, but it was at least twice on each page. And I was like, okay, I actually don't want to read you. You're kind of pissing me off right now. Maybe I'll come back to it. If anybody has read that and they've noticed that and they think like, oh, just overlook it, it'll be okay, let me know. It was too much. It was too much. So I did end up starting the heir apparent's rejected mate. And I read a little bit of it this morning. I think I'm only 35 pages into it. We'll swing back around to that one, but did want to let you guys know DNF Feral Sins because why is latent? Why? Why is that the word you're using over and over and over again? It just kept saying like I was latent for an FMC. Do I know what that word means? Okay, that's what I thought it meant. Lying dormant or hidden until circumstances are suitable for development. That kind of makes sense in like the wolfy aspect of the book. Was her wolf lying dormant? I don't know. It would say like, I'm very latent and I'm also tiny. And I was like, what the fuck? Pause on that one. Let me know if I should come back to it. If not, I will probably never pick the book up again. The heir apparent's rejected mate, I'm not obsessed with it so far because it seems like it's set at a high school or like college. I can't tell what age these characters are.
Penguin Random House Audio presents A Torch Against the Night and Catherine McEwen. Part 1. Psst. Behind me, the catacombs echo with angry shouts.
Time for the brows to be gone. I couldn't even get through an entire video with these brows. I liked looking like ET for a little bit there, but no more, no more. Still listening to this audiobook. So far so good, but I'm really not that far into it. I'm 11% in, about an hour and a half in. Let's dye these brows. I feel like I love existing again, even though the blonde brows had their moment, and I think these do have a little bit of a yellow tint, or at least some of the dye is still stuck on there. It took me 2 hours to dye them. I dyed them once and then I had to dye them again, and then I took forever trying to get the brown off the back of my brow. I still don't think I fully got it off, but also there is a chemical burn underneath my eyebrow. That's great. That's great. How far did I get into this audiobook? 3 hours and 11 minutes into this book. I'm gonna put a pause on this audiobook. I'm probably not gonna listen to more of it for the rest of the week. And I'm gonna go back to reading The Heir Apparent's Rejected Mate, which I am now 30% through. Oh no! No! Oh god, no! Oh my god! There's no way! There's no way! This is gonna bite her in the ass, man. Okay, girl. Girl, I can't see the book.
The reading room at night is actually the most magical thing in the entire world, and I never want to leave. I've been coming in here every single night for the 1 week that I have lived here full time, and it is the best way to finish my fucking day. I'm 50% through this book, and I'm probably gonna read in here for probably like an hour, nothing too crazy. It's 8 o'clock right now, and I'm trying to go to bed early. This is very much your stereotypical werewolf romance book. The man like rejects the bond, and he's like, I can't be with you because you're of low rank, and she's like, I didn't care anyways though. I kind of like her. She's a bad bitch. She stands up for herself, but also at the same time, this book is not as good as the first book in the series, and it's been a while since I read Tyrant Alpha's Rejected Mate, so I don't know how these characters connect to those characters in the first book. I couldn't tell you. I have no freaking idea. These two characters are 18 and 19, which is young. Damn. Like God, I'm 25 years old. That's young. Probably be cringy to a lot of people, so I will say that, but I'm having a good time. I don't feel connected to the characters in one way, shape, or form. I couldn't really care if they lived or died, but I'm also on the edge of my seat, and I want to see them get together. This chapter I'm just starting, he says, she isn't what I thought she'd be. I mean, I'd never considered the possibility of a scavenger as a mate, but if I ever had, I'd never in a million years have imagined her. Very stereotypical book. She's not what you thought she'd be? Okay. She's not submissive, but she's not dominant. I don't know what the fuck she is, except really unimpressed by me. That's my girl. That's my motherfucking girl. Keep him on his toes. Keep him on his toes. I'm liking it. I'm liking it. Just finished my last book that I'm going to be reading this week. I'm going to generously give it 3 stars. We kind of ended off this week very meh. It was just okay. It was just okay. Like, it wasn't bad. I had fun reading it. I don't necessarily recommend it. I do still recommend the first book in this interconnected series, but just know the second one, it's okay. I don't know if it's because the characters were 18 and 19 years old and I just was not relating to them in the slightest. Also, hello, Finn. I don't know if it's because they were so young or what. I had fun reading it, but it wasn't anything spectacular. The way the book was written and the way the writing was, it actually reminded me a little bit of Alpha Inmate, which I generously gave that book 2 stars when I first read it. However, I think I would, if I read it now for the first time, I would give that book 3 stars, because when I read that book for the first time, I didn't know what the Omegaverse was. I went into this blind, not knowing anything about the Omegaverse, not even knowing this was going to be werewolfy. And if you've read this book, you know how scary that is to go into it blind. I read werewolf romances on Wattpad growing up, but I don't know that I'd ever really dive deep into the Omegaverse, so this was a little bit of a culture shock for me. The cheesiness of this one, same vibes.
as this one. I heard the third book in this interconnected series is even better, so I probably will continue this interconnected series, but I won't read the third book for another 6 months. I kind of got my werewolf fix in the past 2 weeks. I don't really have any desire to read another werewolf book anytime soon. We'll see. We'll see if I change my mind. Thank you guys so much for watching this week's mood reading vlog, and I will see you guys next week. Say bye. Oh my gosh, wait, let me cut in here real quick and say something that I forgot to say. I cannot stop thinking about this one scene in this book. The women, the females that they call them in the werewolf world. Females in the lower class, to distract an upper class werewolf, they run at him naked. All of them. And it's described as like boobies were jiggling everywhere. I can't stop thinking about that. It was really funny while I was reading it. That is batshit crazy. The visual that the writing gave me, crazy.